We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. I know y'all tired of it, but we got a new season of The Past. Welcome to season 8, the Mamba Year. Podcast available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of your podcast platforms. Here you'll get a dose of content related to tech, the productivity world, and most importantly, how to be a better you. The theme for this year, personally, is receiving grace. And we definitely want to do better with receiving it and being open to being a better us from who we were a year ago. So this is season 8 of The Past, and I hope you all enjoy.
What's good? Prepping y'all real quick for this infamous walkcast. Alright, we're straight. We got action. So normally y'all know this usually happens on Wednesday. But Wednesday was a little Wednesday. Wednesday wanted to have a little moment. And it happened. Nothing new, nothing unusual. Just had to push it on back a day. Get on out here and get this walk going. So we are, as I like to call it, back to our regularly scheduled programming, already in progress. The routine has been immense to say the least. I've been saying this to myself personally, but I've come up with my own personal morning mantra that I can openly share with you all, which is, I'm blessed to see another day. And I've learned and found that saying this has become a very creative kickstart for my day and for my life. We don't, this is going to be one of those deep recordings. It may be, it may not be, I don't know. But sometimes I think as people, we're so, we feel like, we feel privileged. We feel like life is owed to us, which is 100% far from the truth, right? We need to embrace the fact that we were given an opportunity to improve on what we didn't get to improve upon the day before. And in many instances, our brain and our body is wired in such a go, go, go attitude that we really don't, for lack of a better term, stop and smell the roses. And lately, again, I'm speaking for me, I'm working a lot harder on those rose smelling opportunities because you don't think about it it until it hits or until it really comes to light. Doing some reflecting, thinking about my nephew passing away. Last year was this time around this time last year was his 1 year anniversary. Thinking about my other nephew passing away. It it becomes weighing without realizing how much of a weight it is, and the obvious of truly trying to embrace and become one with family. Love and this This was gonna be a TikTok video. It may still become one. I don't know, but This is gonna be a theme you're gonna hear a lot on my walkcast if I remember to say it. I'm gonna say it on this one because it literally is hitting me as I'm walking. Learn not only to love yourself, but to love on yourself. A couple of weeks ago, actually maybe literally a week ago, I asked someone, everyone, it was like an ask, but it was also like a challenge. I said, give yourself a hug. And I think I mentioned it on the show before where someone asked me to do it. And about scared the living daylights out of me. And I was like, something so simple is so bombarding or so overwhelming. And why this is hitting me harder now is because so many people are looking for love or trying to find this source of love that is not where they think it is. And it's almost like getting, and this is a horrible analogy, so if it doesn't work, my bad. But it's almost like getting on a bike and using MapQuest to go somewhere. Now, granted, MapQuest is or Waze or whatever. They're used in mobile format or in paper format. But those who are old school know about the OG MapQuest and or Yahoo Maps, where if you look for something, you don't want to be driving a bike, fumbling while you're trying to get somewhere. Again, no relevance to what I'm saying, but for a lot of people, that love for ourselves is like very, very, very eye opening and very engaged. It's an internal engagement without you knowing it's an internal engagement. Um, last few times that I've done the walk or started to head this way, I'm always thinking about doing the reflections, the unpack, the talks. Today, I just want to walk, but I wanted to give that message since I found, as strange as it might sound, the the weekly shows are still the weekly shows. It's always just an up in the I call it an up in the air thing on Saturdays of like, okay, what are we gonna do? I'm gonna navigate. I know this week my plan and or intention is to do my recording as normal this Saturday. So we'll see. But I'm not pressing the envelope for some reason. Because with me, it's literally hey, we got an open schedule, everything's good, and then everything happens simultaneously. I also want to say this too. Sometimes your problems have to be your problem. And why I say that, or why I'm giving that message is because many times in life, for whatever reason, a problem comes up or something goes on, and instead of us saying, okay, I'm going to take this issue or this concern and I'm going to make it my own. But we then put ourselves in this position of, I'm dealing with this, but instead of me dealing with it directly, I'm going to bring someone else in to deal with what I need to deal with. And in all fairness, it's um, not beneficial to the person that's being brought in. sometimes people just should not be brought into your chaos or your madness. And for a lot of people, that can be very trying. It can be very challenging without knowing it. It can also, for lack of a better term, be very taxing on you. And it doesn't, it won't, it may not seem that way on the surface, but in theory it is. And that in so many words, or in some instance, comes right back to the loving ourselves. We we love ourselves and we find it beneficial. And at times that pendulum swings more towards the selfish side and neglects the selfless side. Uh, one of my for years I had a and I still have them written down. I just have not read them in a while. I need to revise them to where I'm at today. But I had a list of morning. I guess it was like my morning affirmations. And I would read them every morning, and I stopped. And this is it's always this age old question, and it's a simple one word question, but it's like the age old question of like why, meaning why did you stop doing it? And there's never a quote unquote concise or clear cut answer. It's just I stopped. And from a open and honest perspective, I don't like that I stopped for a while. And this is also there's a this walk will have a lot of messages and a lot of gems in it that have been said before, but they're really gonna hit like based on where my headspace is currently. And it's twofold in a sense, which is stop beating yourself up and stop being hard on yourself. You're you're navigating, you're working through things, you're trying to figure it out. We're all doing it. It's all part of the plan, it's all part of the process. Sometimes we look at something and we think we gotta have and know the answer like immediately. And sometimes it don't work like that. That's just not the way it's not the way the script is written. Sometimes it's, hey, challenge me, push me, bring 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 the heavy artillery. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we sometimes look at what we have going on and we're like battling ourselves. Online is like the number one example of this in looking at so as many of you are aware, web designer, graphic designer. And online presence is literally a love hate relationship, for lack of a better term. Because you can get pulled in and get some great content ideas, but then there's also you're just online just to be online. And many times, whether we think about it or not, that sweet spot is such a neglected position in the online world. And why I say that is because when you're spending and looking at more of what other people are doing, you're now ignoring what you need to work on. Mel Robbins just did a podcast, and hopefully, when I go back and listen to this, I can add that link to the show notes because I started listening to the show. She brings has a guest on who I've watched a lot of his videos online on YouTube, and they discuss how we don't we have to find healthy habits with technology. And technology is more than just a phone. It's more than just a tablet. If I'm being honest, it's actually more than just your laptop or your desktop. It is with anything and everything that is producing or offering some type of idea, thought, or energy towards your life. while halting the other things that you know you need to work on. Mel started with this wild stat, and I'm still sitting in this one a little bit. And she mentioned in your lifetime, you will likely have been, in so many, for lack of a better term, you will have spent 20 years of your life on social media or on within tech. And I'm like, that's for people who are just everyday users. That doesn't even that doesn't even separate the people who are IT, who pretty much like, and it's like thinking about it, even from going to service, from being in service desk and going into to this engineering, being in this engineering role, it's it's not wrong, because the truth is your day, like, you're already pulled in a minimum 6 hours in front of a screen, whether you do a full eight or not. Six of it is in front of the screen. From service desk to 8 hours. Like, you take your breaks. You can say seven and a half technically with your 15s, but outside, the bad part is you get up from the desk. First thing you're doing, you go into your phone. And the guest he has on, he mentions this where our instincts are so, our body's designed, like, our body and our mind is designed to do what it knows best, right? Meaning, okay, you're at a coffee shop. You're waiting in line. The line is not moving at the pace you need it to move at. What's the one way to distract yourself from waiting in line? You get on your phone. You're at you're at the bus stop. You're waiting to get on the bus. How do you kill time of waiting on the bus? Pull out your phone. This one I'm 100% guilty of, and I'm working really hard on like not doing this more often. You're waiting at the elevator. The elevator's gonna take a while to get there, but you're waiting at the elevator. Habit and by instinct, and especially with the phone I have today, or the case that I have today, there's a little rope on the end. Grab it by the little rope, pull it out of my back pocket, and start scrolling and start checking stuff. And it's like, do I really need that little? Do I need that hit of dopamine? And I think I need. And the majority of the times we don't. It's not as quote unquote satisfying as we think it is, but we mentally throw ourselves into this chamber of, oh, I feel inspired, I feel moved, I feel compelled by what, and it's like, no, you don't. No, no, no knock against the product and or the item, but it's not drawing as much stimulation as you think it's drawing. But if you mentally masterminded yourself into thinking that, then as the age old saying goes, it's less about the battle and more about the war. So all of that being said and all of that being put out there, I really want people to, one, and this is finally one of those, like, all right, Brian, you're finally finishing you're wrapping up a podcast. Go you. But one, your boy is like, uh, yesterday was needed, and it was needed in a unique way, but it was like value just to kind of like stop and sit, breathe, and kind of regather or reconvene mentally. So it is what it is. But messages, um, things to walk away with from the Walkcast. Um, love on yourself. Be kind and be patient to yourself. You're not gonna always get it right. Learn, learn from your mistakes. Don't feel like you have, like, as I mentioned already, don't feel like you are compelled or forced to have to do it the right way every single time. As someone who watches basketball, it's a challenging task or tall order to witness how, in some instances, the game can be made very complicated when those who are watching it look at it and are like, this is not. And it's no knock against those who are playing it because they obviously they're paid for what they're doing, but it doesn't have to. You don't have to make it as complex as you find yourself doing. So those are the main takeaways, and also the added piece: learn to have a healthy, better, a healthy relationship with tech. And why I'm saying it in that manner as I close is many of you know I've talked about it before. I am a big advocate of the brick accessory. I've not been using it as much as I would like to in the last few days, but I'm also being kind to myself, even in that aspect, and not looking at it like, oh my God, I don't have my phone as connected or disconnected the way I would like to. But it's also not, it's not the end of the world that I'm not, um, I'm not as pressed to have all these applications locked. There's one thing for certain, two things for sure. If I got a message I want to put out there, I don't want to have to go through a bunch of strains and blocks to get that message sent. Now, to be fair, I do have it where when I do brick or lock my phone from a lot of applications, I can still record videos. I can still record voice notes. There are different applications that I've kept available as a means of communication. Obviously, y'all know I'm a Notion. Um, I'm a Notion fan. I won't say a Notion addict, but I'm a Notion fan. I've used Notion a lot for saving. I got introduced to back in February to space-time productivity. I've been mispronouncing and I'm miscalling it as space-time monotask, but space-time productivity. They brought out a template for micro journaling. Best thing ever. Might be hands down one of the best templates that I got introduced to because it's very simple and very convenient for a quick message like, hey, let me write this up. Almost, and how I treat it is dual based person. I use it as a almost like a newsletter or a title to put in Notion, but I also use it for my daily reflection in my bullet journal, which I'm still somehow still keeping maintained, but that's neither here nor there. All right, but back to the brick reference, and then I'm closing out. Brick has been like a helpful tool to lock out and shut down certain applications, but sometimes it's not even about having an itch to get online. It's just more of a let me view a few things, just some content, possibly some ideas. And then two, what's been helping me lately is even with me not forcing it to be a thing, it technically has been forced, but it's also just come naturally. Is I'm watching more stories, reels, videos related to music, and it's bringing up a lot of musical motivation and ideas on like music, old school music. Uh, I've been having fun with that. So finding, and that is going back to the final point I was mentioning of finding a healthy, regulated balance of online usage or social media usage. No one wants to have this conversation, but this is a conversation we must learn to have more of, which is um, consume consume the content, but don't let the content consume you, or don't be overwhelmed or bombarded by the information being provided. Because sometimes you get so much being thrown at you at one time that it will, for lack of a better term, have you mixed in how you want to operate. You shouldn't let that be. You shouldn't let, as hard as it is not to. you shouldn't let social media guide your thought process. You should still have a mind of your own. And when I say guide, I mean fully tell you everything that you need to do. Because if a videos can show you step by step. A young lady, she does a lot of content on Chat GPT and doing prompts. You can put all the prompts you want in there. You can get all the information that comes back to you from those prompts. But if you ain't doing nothing with them, then what? You just took time, threw something out there. Now it's on your phone, and you just holding on to it. Like, all right, what do I do now? And people do this so frequently that they feel like they're the gatekeeper, or they're the tell all be all person, or the special expert in that category. And it's like, no, you're not. Hundreds of people can look up this exact same thing. You just happen to be the one that looked it up, saved it, and is retaining the information. So that is all I have for y'all. I have another whopping 15 minutes of this walk, and I'm also getting ready to get some dentistry work done this morning, so that should be fun, to say the least. But in the meantime, in between time, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'm proud of y'all. Love yourself. Be proud of yourself. Be patient and kind to yourself. If you're gonna use the phone, but use it in moderation. And don't feel like you have to. And this is both sides of this coin. Don't feel like you have to be consumed and be in every single thing on social media, but also don't feel like you have to lock every single application to stay away from what's going on and to not distract yourself from the world. Like, it's such a love-hate relationship with that conversation, because there are a lot of content creators who don't understand, and this is not their fault, but this is the reality of the beast. I promise you I'm gonna finish up with this. A lot of content creators don't realize, or a lot of social media, I don't want to call them social media experts, but we'll call them social media experts for the sake of the conversation. A lot of social media experts or individuals who are away from social media will mention that you don't need these things to do what you're doing or what you're promoting. And it's like, that's for what you're doing. For what I'm doing, it's a little different. And it's not to say that I don't have those nostalgic options, but I also don't want the nostalgic options to be the only options. So that's what I'm gonna leave y'all with for that final piece. Until next time, in the meantime, in between time, BT signing out. Peace.
Truly hope you all enjoyed the show. Definitely was a lot to unpack, but I know you'll walk away with something important. As I share at the end of each season, do find your way to get into podcasting if it's something you would like to do. My podcasts are currently recorded via Buzzsprout. Been very good to me. If you want to learn more about using them, definitely hit me up at thepastbtpod@gmail.com. And also, the microphone that you're hearing me on is the Blue Yeti X. Have been rolling with it for over 3 years. We've been doing this ride for quite some time, so I hope someone could find this mic useful. Again, find those people who are good or helpful in what you're trying to do to be better today than you were yesterday. The primary goal is to be 1% better. Hope you all have an amazing day, and we'll be back again to do this next time.